So in 2D, we are interested in this space. A is still finite. And this network on which we place the colors of A has changed, but it's still discrete. It's still a discrete group, or discrete memory, because it does not appear here. So we can define the topology exactly the same, in the same way. It's also based on cylinders. And maybe we can, yes. So a cylinder is a set of configurations which have a particular subpattern at some place, and we can just keep rectangle cylinders if we want. It's still a base of the topology, even if we restrict to the rectangle. So what is a cylinder? I take a pattern, a rectangle pattern U, I put it in position I, such a configuration X, such that X, and I restrict to capital U, which U is in C. Equal to small plus I equal to small u. So here, this is the plus of Z2. Okay? This, I recall that this means that U is a finite subset of Z2. Okay? I take a finite subset of Z2. I take a pattern with this as a support, which means I take this finite support and I put colors at each point of this subset. Colors from alphabet A. This gives me a finite pattern. And I take a position I in Z2. And I'm looking at the set of all configurations which have exactly this set pattern at this place. This is still the set of all these cylinders with, when you make small u vary and I vary, you have a base of the topology. So I don't reprove all the results. Everything topological still works in this setting. Okay? So the big difference will start when we speak about subshifts of finite type. The subshifts of finite type configurations which do not contain any pattern from a finite list F.
And shift can be done in any direction.
Yes. So now it's not exactly a topological dynamical system in the sense that I first defined it, the shift, because it's an action of Z2. Actually, you can define topological dynamic systems as actions, as continuous actions of groups by homomorphisms. And all of the definitions still work. So, yes, so subshift. Thank you. Maybe we have to recall that it's on X closed such that sigma k of X is in X for every k in N. Okay? For every k in N. So in particular, in Z2 it's enough to check on the two generators. In Z it was enough to have only well, actually, since I wrote it by an inclusion, I need 4 generators. So 4 generators as a monoid. Up, down, left, right. If I wrote as an inequality, then you need only 2 generators. But then my definition would not work for monoid. But of course, you can also write equal if you stay in a group in Z2. So, a closed set which is invariant by the shift, so when I say invariant by the shift axiom, I mean by every shift, can be defined as something some set of configurations defined by a list of forbidden patterns. And if it's finite type, this list can be finite. And if it can be finite, you can take them to all have the same support. Okay? Do you agree that it's the same to forbid a finite list of forbidden patterns and to forbid patterns from some given support? Because you can always extend finite patterns to have a bigger support. And we are also we also saw that subshift of finite type are conjugate to nearest neighbor subshift. This still works also. You can do it as an exercise. It's really the same proof by grouping. So a way to visualize a subshift of finite type, for example, I forbid if I want to forbid horizontal 1, 1. And vertical 1, 0. Then a way to visualize this is to draw some squares. So this is 1, 1. This is 1, 0. So 1 has to be next to this is forbidden. And this is forbidden. So 1 has to be next to 0, so maybe I can do like a jigsaw puzzle thing, which allows 1 to be next to 0, but 1 cannot be next to 1. Then 0 can be next to 0, or it can be next to 1. So 0 can be next to 0. Or it can be next to 1. So in some sense I can I can separate my 0 into two kinds of 0, one which is followed on its right by 1, and one which is followed on its right by 0. And you have some kind of conjugacy towards what we call Wang tile system. So here I describe only what I can do with the horizontal side, but you can do the same for vertical sides. Sometimes you need to separate a symbol into two tiles, but you can always express every nearest neighbor SFT by a set of tilings defined by one tile. You understand what it means defined by one tile? It's the set of all possible tilings where these tiles satisfy the matching conditions. I can draw the matching conditions like this, like a jigsaw puzzle, but I can also draw it with a color on each side. This is in the formalism of how long. It dates back from the 70s. Then you have colors on each side. So the Wang tile is maybe let's call it C. Is a set of 4 tuples from an alphabet of colors, and the system defines by W is the nearest neighbor of T. Over alphabet W. And with the obvious horizontal and vertical constraints. So I will note X side. It's a 4 tuple, so X side to the right, X side down, X side left, X side top. Okay, and I want X side right to be the same color as X side plus 1, 0 left, and X side down to be the same color as maybe X side up to be the same color as X side plus 0, 1 down. This is a formal definition to represent the very simple thing that says that you have this set of tiles with a color on each side. Here I don't have color chalks, but The colors are represented by bumps, and so maybe here you have a, we can finish the example. So one is on top of one, and 0. Can have a 1 on top of it. So I have to double these two zeros.
I guess I could have doubled the 1 actually. It would have been simpler. Anyway, I did it.
Maybe I got it wrong, but it's very simple, this definition. And this has been introduced in the 70s, as I told you, to represent some logical statements, and there were questions about the decidability of such statements. And we are going to see that the decidability is not that obvious. But first, I don't know either. So, who has heard the word decidability before? Decidability? Разрешимость. Turing machine, you know what it is? Okay. Do you know what is a semi-algorithm? Yes, I said it in some class. Yes. It's even on some video. I think it was not in the class where the video didn't. So, okay, let me recall what still works here. So just let me recall what a semi-algorithm is by giving an example. If you are given a set of tiles like this, you have a semi-algorithm which, if you encode correctly the tiles because they are finitely describable, for example, as soon as you can express to your neighbor, okay, I have a tile with a 1 and a bump like this, and blah, 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 blah. I have another tile like this, blah, 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 blah. This is, if you can explain to your neighbor a set of tiles, it means you have managed to say in a finite sentence. It means there is a finite description, and it means that it can be, there is some kind of computable encoding, so that you can also say the same thing to a computer. Of course, you have to program correctly your program so that it decodes your human way of speaking. But there is clearly an easy encoding of this set of tiles so that we can talk about algorithms which take sets of tiles as inputs. Okay? Or a semi-algorithm. So there is, you can write a program which takes as input a set of tiles, or equivalently a set of forbidden patterns that define such shift. And the program tries to do all possible tilings of squares, bigger and bigger squares, until it cannot until it doesn't manage to tile a square of some size. Okay? Can you program it?
Yes.
Okay. You all agree that it's not so difficult. I'm not talking about complexity, so you can program it in the most naive way. You just check all possible tiling of the square n by n, and you check that it satisfies the local constraint. And so the problem is that it's not an algorithm, it's a semi-algorithm, because yes, you don't require, you will know if it doesn't manage to tile a square, and if you wait long enough, then you will know it. But if it tiles all sizes, you can wait, but you may never have an answer. So this is why it's a semi-algorithm. So there exists a semi-algorithm which, given S in the framework of FFT, or equivalently, given a set of quantiles, eventually tells you if XS is empty. Okay? Because by compactness, XF is empty means there is no configuration, no tiling of the whole plane. And by compactness, this is equivalent to having no tiling of some square of some size n. Okay? So one direction is obvious. If you can't tile a square of size n, then of course you won't be able to tile the plane. Because in the plane there are many squares of tile n that you will have needed to be to tile correctly. And the converse, you need compactness. If you can tile all squares of all sizes, then there is a tiling of the plane with which satisfies all the constraints. And we saw that there was a second interesting semi-algorithm how can I write it without there are two semi-algorithms. And the first one okay. You have the right to write it better on your paper, but it's just that I'm too lazy to copy this. Maybe. There is a semi-algorithm, and there is another one which on input F or equivalently W which eventually tells you if XF contains a periodic configuration. So periodic means vertically and horizontally. So maybe you can also program this one. You take these tiles and you test all possible. Maybe you have to test all possible rectangles. But it's not so so different from all squares. You test all rectangles so that the line above and the line below match. If you are in this setting, they can be glued together. If you are in this setting, well, it's easier to see it in this setting. So, and the same for the right and the left. So this, if it exists, you will find it. You can find it.
The configuration should be finite. For example, if we have a strip that periodically that is periodic over one dimension over x axis, do
we want two vectors of periodicity, vertically and horizontally. That's why I precise this. So, if you all know more or less about Turing machines, maybe you will also be convinced of the following fact. So, just let's go back for a second in one dimension. You remember what homomorphism is, one-dimensional subshift is? And I think, I don't know if I wrote this word during the lessons, but I discussed it after some questions. I think the cellular automaton is so I will stick to one-dimensional cellular automaton. It's an endomorphism. So endomorphism of one-dimensional full shift. Endomorphism just means that it's a morphism from A to the Z into itself. Okay? And cellular automata have also been introduced as a computational model for parallelism. So it's very close to Turing machine, but you can expect the computation to take place not only in one specific point where there is a head of the Turing machine, but a bit everywhere, because every cell may update its state. So recall that this is equivalent to you have a radius and the local map from A to the 2r+1 into A, and we are interested in the global map, which satisfies okay? So you have this local map which takes a neighborhood, the state of a neighborhood, and gives you the next state. And so the difference between so what definition of Turing machine have you seen? So So basically, I don't know if I... let me do an informal link between Turing machine and cellular automata, and maybe you will do the formalization as the next step. So, Turing machine, what is it? There is an infinite tape, and on it you have symbols from some alphabet, sigma. Okay. So you have a tape with possibly infinite. So in the dynamical version, it's possibly infinite tape. By infinite, usually in computability theory, we only deal with finite inputs, not bounded, of course, but finite, and there is a blank character on the left and on the right. So, and somewhere there is a head of the machine which has a state Q. Okay? And it reads some letter, B. Let's say A. And you have a transition map. So Q is in some finite alphabet also. This is the symbol alphabet. And Q is state alphabet. And you have a map from Q to sigma, Q times sigma to Q times sigma times a movement. So the head is in state Q and reads A, and depending on this, it changes its state. It updates its state. It writes another symbol, and it may move left or right. And now, let's change a little this representation, and let's write it. I still don't have that. I shouldn't look for them each time. So let's let's draw it. Okay, you understand that it's not a new cell, but it's split into two, and there is A and Q. Okay. Then I can write on top of it a new configuration, which is obtained by application of the Turing machine. What does it mean? It means that the whole tape content is the same except around here. So here, all of this is the same, okay, and changed. And here we have applied the rule, so maybe there is B here, and maybe the new head is here. Let's So here I applied delta of QA equals Q prime V, right, okay? So the head was here, in state Q, it reads A, it writes B, and goes to the right. And goes to the right in state Q prime. Do you agree that we are not very far from having a local map here that maps a neighborhood of size 3, of radius 1, here, to the next cell? Because you just have to, yes, you have to know if your cell has a head. If none of the three, if you are far from having the cell, and none of your neighbors have the cell, then you know you just have to copy. If you have the cell, then you know you have to be in the new symbol that the head has written. And if one of your neighbors has the cell, the head of the machine, you know, the local rule knows the whole neighborhood, so you know the state of the machine and the symbol that it reads. So you know the application and you know whether the head should go in your direction or not. Okay? So, why did I say it's merely a cellular automaton? It's a membermorphism, but not of the full shift, because we are here in a set of configurations where we have only one head. The most important feature of the Turing machine here, dynamically, is that there is only one head. But so there is a cellular automaton which, on this kind of configurations, gives you the exact configurations that corresponds to the application of the Turing machine. Over which alphabet? So maybe we want to, this joint union of sigma and Q times sigma. You see, you have some cells which are in alphabet sigma and one cell which is in Q times sigma. Okay, is it clear? Which simulates, I put it in this, not bracket, and because but I think you completely understand. It's just that the head is encoded exactly in one cell, but otherwise you really have this exact evolution of the Turing machine, which is depicted by the evolution of the cellular automaton. So as a result, we have undecidability results on cellular automaton. what is the basic undecidable problem, the most the halting problem of Turing machines? Can you state it?
Given a definition of a Turing machine, like the old rules of going from one state to another, to construct an algorithm that will tell if such a program will stop, such a machine. Okay, input is a Turing machine, so it is a tape, some configuration of tape, and some set of rules.
Yes, actually, the original halting problem, the initial configuration is blank. So
okay.
that you are given. I didn't really talk about blank state, but so let's say you are given the rule of the Turing machine and an initial state. And a blank symbol, and also a halting. Usually it's inside the definition of Turing machine. This thing, I mean, it depends on here in a dynamical course. It's easier to write it like this, but usually we have this Turing machine. This is the principle, and so
the problem
question is.
Is there another Turing machine, or just algorithm that gives this definition will output if such a machine stops or not? How?
This input, yes. So there's the machine. Eventually reach state QH when initialized in state Q0 and state the blank symbol, and well, I put this as a notation to say that it's by infinity. So this is the question, and this is a non-decidable problem. Turing, 1936. First undecidable problem. So there is no algorithm which, when given a description of this, can answer for sure this question. Okay? So this simulation here gives us translation into cellular automata. Because, well, actually, it's nearly the same. So you can. Except that here we have, so the main philosophical difference between Turing machines and cellular automata in computational point of view is that one is sequential and the other one is parallel. And in some sense, in cellular automata, you have computation emerging from, the object of the computation is also the subject of the computation. The Turing machine really separates some kind of device that will do something actively on some passive context. In cellular automata, you really have everything that wants to do something by themselves, and not only by themselves, but by communicating. This is why it's a relevant model if you want to understand somehow, I don't know, things that have emerged in nature or something. But, so, we don't separate the two alphabets here, so maybe I can just have 3 states in my alphabet. Okay. And the problem is that there exists on time t, and there is time, and then there exists a position I, such that f to the t, so here is the global map we defined before, of infinitely many sharps to the left, then just one symbol, which is different, and infinitely many sharps to the right, at position I equals QH. And this is a question. Does there exist? Okay. So to see that this is undecidable, we will do what everyone does when he proves an undecidable problem since Alan Turing, maybe, because we have undecidable problems and we can use them in what we call reductions, which means that we can, if we want to prove this undecidable, we can assume there is an algorithm which solves this. By contradiction, we assume there is an algorithm which solves this, and then we can deduce an algorithm which solves this, which we know doesn't exist. So do you see how to do this? So we want an algorithm, let's say we have an algorithm which answers this question. Now we want an algorithm which answers this question. So we will take this input and we have to build an input for this such that the answer to this question will be equivalent to the answer to this question with my original input.
Can we have more symbols in the alphabet?
Yes. Yes. There is this an alphabet A. I see a root S. F. Then S defined by small f. So the reduction is more or less what I did here. So you give me a description of a Turing machine and 3 states. I transform it into a rule of cellular automaton. Do you agree that this transformation is not difficult to program? I mean, I'm not speaking about if you can program, maybe it's difficult, maybe simple things are difficult, but it's not difficult to be convinced that this can be programmed. I can change it into a local rule. Now, if local rule satisfies this, then actually it meant exactly that. So I can change it to a local rule, and Q0, I will change my two states to Q0 I see what you meant. Okay.
I think we can call it maybe select transform in such a way that Q0 is exactly like a state that the state that means that the start at this position and had like symbol, like sharp symbol, and we had it in the position. So we can just choose Q0 to mean what we want from it.
Yes. Q0 is this Q0 is the pair Q0 sharp. But I think to be easier, maybe I can just change this problem. Sorry. Let me write it like this. QH in A, and I'm asking not whether I reach a very specific state, but whether I arrive in some sub-alphabet, okay? And then I transform, so as we said, we transform the description of the Turing machine into the local rule. The alphabet is this one, the union of the symbol alphabet and of the product of these two. The initial symbol here can be the product of the initial symbol and the pair of initial symbol and the blank symbol. The blank symbol can be the blank symbol. And this sub-alphabet can be the set of pairs which have a QH. Okay?
Excuse me, can I ask a question? Is it obvious that we can simulate a Turing machine by cellular automata?
For me, yes, but
define this function, function, like we take, maybe check like every like a triple of states, and this is head, we change it.
Yes, and we have radius 1 here.
Yes.
yes.
But what is it, set of configurations which have one head? What is it head of the configuration?
Head is an occurrence of this state. As I said, maybe you were not yet here, but a Turing machine has exactly one head position. So it has set of which have one head.
It's reference to the Turing machine. One head refers to the Turing machine.
And in the cellular automaton side, it corresponds exactly to the symbols which are in Q times sigma. So most symbols are in sigma, and exactly one is in Q times sigma.
But if we have several heads, we also can simulate finite. If our Turing machine has
finitely many heads.
Yes, we also can simulate it by cellular automata. Or not?
Yeah, but it's not very well defined in the Turing machine model what happens when two heads
Come together.
Yes.
Yes.
There are some models about this, like about parallel computing and agents, and you can talk about many things.
Yes.
I was starting from the very basic model of Turing machine where you have one head. So here I don't say what the cellular automaton does when there are several heads. I don't really need it because actually in this problem we have transformed it into something which happens exactly on our subsets with only one head. So So this problem is undecidable. I think I more or less proved it already. If there's a problem, you can ask me. By reduction to the Hawking problem. By reduction of the Hawking problem. This is very hard. I already get confused. You reduce this problem to this problem, because this problem is at least as easy as this one. If you can solve this, you can solve this. But you know you can't solve this. So actually you can't solve it. Okay. And now what about why am I drawing things like this on top of each other? When you have a cellular automaton, a one-dimensional cellular automaton, you can always do this, to put the configuration on top of each other. It's called the space-time diagram. Okay, you understand what it means? So you can look at all the pictures that you can draw like this, and at each line you apply the cellular automaton, which means that at each line and at each position you have applied the local rule from the pattern which is written just below. So what do you think? What do you think about this two-dimensional picture, or this two-dimensional set of pictures?
Yes, actually.
Yes.
What is it?
Yes, it's a subshift of finite type. Yes. So why is it a finite type?
Because
what is a subshift of finite type? It's defined by
set of forbidden patterns.
yes. So you just have, it means, subshift of finite type means that you just have to look locally, everywhere in parallel, but locally, and you check some condition locally. Imagine you have infinitely many friends who help you, and you don't need to communicate except at the end to say to everyone, okay, from my side it was okay, and if everyone says okay, it's okay. This is not true in subshift of infinite type. Sometimes you need to communicate, you had which symbol, yes, but mine was forbidden if yours was very far away, but it was this kind. No, in finite type, you just have to look locally. Is it the case here? These two-dimensional pictures, to see that it's a natural space-time diagram, I just need to check what I've drawn here, that this is obtained from this neighborhood by local rule F. So it's not exactly a nearest neighbor subshift, because you may look at radius R, but this is still a finite, and you know that it can be recorded into a nearest neighbor subshift. Except that this is not exactly in Z2. This is in N times Z, because in general, the cellular automata may not have a past. So if you have a reversible cellular automaton, then it's V2. You can also, or if you have any cellular automaton, you can look at bi-infinite pictures that you obtain this way, which correspond to some kind of limit set. But in general, you have a SFT. Let's go back to. Are there any questions? So we can also talk about questions. No. We can also talk about suffix subshifts. And you remember what a suffix subshift is? There are several characterizations.
Can we represent it in a graph?
Yes. So this is exactly the characterization which will not be true anymore in V2. So suffix subshift was represented in a graph if it was a one-dimensional subshift, because subshifts of finite type were represented as sets of paths, by infinite paths. If you want to try to do the same thing in dimension 2, you will experience some problems, because you want to have so basically in Z, to see that a set of configurations in dimension 1 is an SFT, you could read from left to right. You have a direction of reading. And in your reading, you can represent it as a graph. Okay, there is an arc which goes to the letter I just read, for example, to the next letter. If you want to read in dimension 2, then maybe you can have a graph upward and a graph rightward, but you may have constraints that occur between what you will read rightward and what you will read upward. It's much more complicated, and actually it can't really be that. There is some kind of representation by matrices, but it doesn't tell you much. In particular, it cannot tell you whether the SFT is empty or not. But still, we can define suffix subshifts as factors of SFT. And there is also the characterization as factors of SFT through a symbol-wise factor map. This is still true. You can do it as an exercise. We did I think, the proof, at least orally, in 1D. And it's exactly the same in 2D. So factor means that it is obtained as image of a continuous shift commuting map. What is a shift commuting map? It's a map which commutes with every shift. Every shift in V2. It's equivalent to say that it commutes with vertical and horizontal shifts. But it's even simpler to remember that a suffix subshift can be always obtained through symbol-wise factor math, because symbol-wise factor math is an even simpler object. What does it mean? You have a set of configuration, and you have a map, which is just a map from the alphabet to another alphabet, and that you apply in parallel everywhere. Okay? So you have a projection between the two alphabets. Y is a subshift over D, and X is a subshift over A. Maybe I thought of writing N before. Okay? And I apply this projection, this alphabet projection everywhere in parallel. What was the first example of suffix subshift that we saw in Monday?
Which can take us only 1-1.
Exactly 1-1, or the set of configurations which contain exactly 1-1. What can you say about this set?
And the 0.
Yes, because the set of configuration which contains exactly 1-1 is not closed. Not a subshift, because you remember it's still true in dimension 2. You take the set of configurations where everything is 0 except in one point where you have a 1, and you kind of shift it to the infinity, and you get the configuration with only zeros. It should still be in the subshift. If it's a subshift, you have to add it. But yes, it's a good example. Is it still Sophic in dimension 2? The same definition. So how did we do it in dimension 1? How did we prove it was Sophic? Thank you. Remember?
For example, you can use a metric and say that it's not closed.
Okay, no, the not closed one was when you said exactly 1-1.
Okay.
And then we studied so I think we proved very rapidly that it was closed. I think you can get convinced. If you are not, you do it as an exercise. So this is a subshift. And we proved that it was Sophic in one day. Remember, it can be drawn like this. problem which makes it not an SFT is that you have two edges labeled 0. So what you do is that you double one like this. Okay? Well, in some sense, you can also see this as, 0 and 0 prime are just artificial names that I give it. I can give it any names. Maybe here I will give it the name right arrow because it's the state that tells me the 1 is in this direction, is on the right. And here the 1 is on the left. So maybe it's not a good choice to have arrows but you understand that this is not an arrow. It's clear that it's a symbol, okay? It's just a symbol. Two symbols. And so now that I gave you this hint, you have an idea how to... So for example, if okay, this here is a configuration of my subshift. There is 1, 1, and I didn't draw the zeros, but the empty things are zeros, okay? There is 1, 1. And I want to add some kind of information in my picture so that this information helps me to define by local constraints this picture. This is what we did in 1D. In some sense, these two arrows which were labeled 0, we decorated them by some additional information which helps us to define it by local constraints. And here, for example, I can do the same I can start to do the same in the line where I see a 1. Okay? I'm starting to decorate the zeros. So if I just do this, if I shift horizontally, then essentially I know that I cannot see a 1 later because these arrows will prevent me, will tell me, hey, no, even locally, I know that they can't be a 1. But if I shift vertically, maybe I can see a 1 very far away. So again, if you come with your infinitely many friends and want to check that you are in this set, that there is at most 1, 1, all of your friends which are on the same line as you can check this because if they see 1, 1, they see, oh, no, there's a left arrow and 1, there's a problem. You are in the middle, if you chose, and you see that this is correct. But someone who is here, and maybe with the same line here, may not see any problem, and will think that it's okay, and you will need an an unbounded communication between you and him to notice that you're actually not in this set. This is what we want to prevent. We want to build. I'm building an SFT which factors to this subshift, and the SFT is exactly the proof that there is a possibility of bounded communication if I get the correct decoration. So what can I do? I have left arrows and right arrows. Yes. So if I have, for example, this is an example, there are many possibilities. But an example of picture I'm tired of drawing these big arrows. I drew first big arrows so that you really understand that they have nothing to do with these. But here, it's clear. Okay? Now you take all nearest neighbor patterns in this picture. Imagine you have infinitely many arrows here and infinitely many arrows here. Then you define an SFC X by exactly forbidding all 2 to 1 and 1 to 2 patterns which don't appear in this picture. So, I don't know. Okay, this one, there is this one, this one, this one. And 1, 1, 1, 1. Do you see something that I missed? Okay, you will finish at home. I defined the SFC which forbids all these patterns that don't appear in this. Do you agree that then you cannot have another kind of picture? The only picture you will get is this one.
No, you can just like reversing the arrows here, but
No, what, reverse?
Do you forbid left arrow and 1, for example?
Maybe I have to.
Left.
I have to forbid these two lines which have. Okay. Sorry. Yes, you said.
For example, left arrow and 1.
Ah, yes. Left. Yes.
Yes, this
And the same.
left and 1.
Yes. Okay.
So actually we have 3 symbols here. Oh, no, no,
Maybe
3.
maybe
5.
also the same. Okay. There are 5 symbols.
Yes.
So let me call X this configuration where you have this is cell 0. Okay. When I draw something without X is a map from Z2 to A. So I should say where is the cell 0 and then you understand. Then what I'm claiming is that this subshift is the orbit closure of X. This is the orbit closure. It's union of sigma. So maybe I will write it like this: sigma I of X. Well, actually, it's not a union; it's a set. Okay. Do you more or less see the intuition? Are you ready to go with your infinitely many friends and to say, okay, you just check that around you there are none of these patterns, and then you will be sure that, maybe you're not sure that there is 1, 1, but you're sure that there is at most 1. Of course, you cannot be sure that there is exactly 1 because there is always this, for example, this infinite shift there, which gives you a full map of with many arrows. But you can be sure that there is at most 1. And Y is clearly obtained by the symbol-wise map. I0, 1 is 1, and all the rest is 0. Is it completely clear what we just did? What was the purpose? So it can be seen as a proof of the fact that Y is a factor of some FFT. It can also be seen somehow as you are given it can be seen as Y being some kind of result that you expect, and X to be some kind of computational process that allows to give you the result. Because Y is, in some sense, an abstract definition. Of course, there is a formula here, it's computable, but I didn't list finite patterns because there are infinitely many. And X is a computational process because you can see all of these, even if it's not deterministic like a space-time diagram of a cellular automata. You can see all of these cells like communicating to each other and saying and helping to solve the whole problem. So SFT are really something which deals with locally communicating particles which help you to reach a global behavior. And now I want to prove the first understandability problem on SFT. By using the space-time diagram of cellular automaton, and by using this. So how can I do this? First, maybe it's hard to answer if I don't help you by asking a question. I want to prove that there is no algorithm that solves the following problem. Yes. A finite set of forbidden patterns. Clear that it can be described as input of a computer, and a ledger. An alphabet A. So usually when we talk about computation, our alphabets will be intervals from 1 to n. Or some n. We don't care about having abstract things. We have to represent them anyway, so they have to have a representation, so they can be integers. And now the question is, well, a simple question: is A in the language of the subshift? What does it mean? Being in the language, does it appear in one configuration of the subshift? So it's not the emptiness problem yet. The emptiness problem requires much more machinery, and we will see it next week. But this is the kind of emptiness problem with a seed. If you see this as your jigsaw puzzle that I erased here, I'm giving you a set of tiles, and I'm asking.
But if we can answer this question, we can answer the emptiness problem question.
Yes, but if you can't, you don't know if you can. We can't. It's undecidable. So So you're right. You're right that emptiness.
So this question is more difficult
No, it's easier.
than emptiness problem.
Yes, it's more difficult. So proving that it's undecidable is easier. This problem here is strictly more difficult because you can you can always add so if you could solve yes, you can always forbid A or forbid the other letters. So what was I going to say? Yes. So I'm giving you a set of tiles in the one tile setting. I'm giving you a set of tiles. You have finitely many of them, but you have infinitely many copies of each of them. There is a finite number of prototypes, but you can use them infinitely many. And I'm telling you, do you know if you can tile the plane? Okay, this is the question we will see next week. Here I'm telling you, do you know if you can tile the plane? You have to start with this one in the middle. In the middle, because of course if it's in the language, it appears in the middle of some configuration by shifting variance. How do you do this? I want to reduce this problem. Okay. So it's really the same as here.
Construct topic, like certain subject, maybe just send this symbol A to like whole 0 and we send all other elements to sharp.
Wait a minute.
Like this map.
So what? So let's go through the method again, because I wonder if you're not doing it the other way around. Because we want to prove that this is undecidable by reducing this, which means that I will assume I have an algorithm like this and get to a contradiction. Let's assume you have programmed something that solves this. And I'm telling you, well, it's a bit weird that you have a program for this, because then if you have a program, I will write a program which uses your program and which solves this, which is weird because we proved that it's not possible. So how do I do this? I take the input. It's a program that is supposed to solve this. So I take this input. I want to transform it into an input for your program so that your answer gives me exactly the answer to my question. So I have an alphabet A. Okay, let's say it's the same. I have a Actually, no, you won't say it's the same, because let's do a first try. We say it's the same, and we have a rule for a stellar automaton, and I want an SFT. But we know that there is an SFT, a two-dimensional SFT associated with the rule of a stellar automaton. It's the set of space-time diagrams, except that it's not exactly an SFT in Z2. That's why I put brackets here, because yes, because it can only tile maybe half of the plane, but I can extend my alphabet so that I fill with some abstract fresh symbol. But it's not the only problem. I want I also have a fixed Q0 and sharp, which are supposed to be I want to know if I can extend them as an orbit. Okay? So, in some sense, maybe Q0 can be encoded as A here. So, and the sharp can be the symbols on the left and on the right of A. So we want to force all these lines to be sharps. Here to have one symbol, and all these lines to be sharp. Does this make you think about something? Maybe we can use this construction. So, we will do a product between these two constructions in some sense. Suppose there is an algorithm. And let's define for CA reachability. This is styling with C or emptiness. So, I'm given an alphabet A, a CA rule F, Q0 sharp A, and QH sub alphabet of A. And now I'm building B to be either, let's say, either the upward arrow or any other arrow, any other symbol of this alphabet, product with A. And the forbidden patterns let's write like this. F forces pictures like this. I stupidly call this also F, but okay. F prime for the F from this subshift. You understand what it means for this F? I forbid exactly the same pattern on the first layer, and here also, yes, you suppose that it's the first layer. It's a very classical way of building Sophix subsheets or SFC to have these product alphabets and to have constraints, some constraints within each layer to use constructions that we did before, and then some constraints between the layers. And yes, when we have some product alphabet like this, you can see your subsheet really as something with several layers. This is why I said layer. Here, in some sense, one of the layers, the second layer stops, is only half of the tiling. It's not very important. I still call this the first layer. Okay. On the second layer, it forces the space-time diagram of F. Do you understand what's going on? I have a picture like this, where I superimpose this here. And exactly, it starts exactly at this line. And it's interesting because I have a marked point here. So I can use this marked point to have a Q0. Force is 1. Maybe for this 1 with something if this something is not Q0. I shouldn't call it Q0. It's weird to have Q0 in let's call it. Okay? But something else. We want to map this, and we want to transform a question whether some state in QH will appear. We want to transform it into something. There is no tiling. So, actually, we can just remove all the states in QH. In the second layer. Maybe another way of saying it is just to write this, if you want. Okay? So I describe all the possible space-time diagrams which do not intersect QH. And now the proof is over because I also define A to be let's call it B, maybe. A to be 1 Q0. And now this little construction is perfectly computable. If I have this input, I can write a program which builds this list of forbidden patterns. I didn't describe anything very, very complicated. So I put these three things: alphabet, forbidden pattern, and special initial symbol in your algorithm. You told me you had an algorithm to solve this. Good proof. So what happens? Either your algorithm tells me that A is in the language. What does it mean? It means that 1 Q0, that I have a tiling where I have, in the first layer I have 1, so it looks like this, and 1 must have Q0 next to it on the second layer. So I have Q0, and in the second layer it should be a space-time diagram of a stellar automaton which starts in Q0 and never meets QH because I forbid QH. But if your algorithm tells me A is not in the language, what does it mean? It means that it's really an equivalence what I just said. It means that there is no such space-time diagram which starts in A and never meets QH. So using the answer from your algorithm, I directly have the answer to this. So if your algorithm works, I've just built an algorithm which solves this question, but we know it's not solvable. So we proved that this is indecisible. There is no algorithm which tells me if I can tile the plane with a given set of tiles starting with a particular tile. Or, said differently, there is no algorithm which tells me whether a specific letter is in the language of a specific SFT. So I guess it's more than time. Any questions? Otherwise, we come tomorrow with the questions.
Okay, I have a question. Is it true that every two-dimensional subshift is finite type can be maybe realized as a construction with several automata?
No.
No?
So for example, the full shift, maybe we can also discuss this in next time and the next one, but a very simple answer. The full shift, you have all possible pictures in the Z2, and it cannot be obtained. So a very easy constraint that you can see, you can define entropy also for subshift in dimension 2. You count the number of patterns that you see of square patterns, bigger and bigger. What does it look like? If it's a space-time diagram, it's enough for me to count some kind of U here, where this is the radius of the stellar automata, and this determines completely what is inside. Okay, maybe said differently, this big rectangle is completely determined by something of size, so this is n times n, and it's completely determined by something of times Rn, where R is the radius of the stellar automaton. So the number of patterns that you see in a subshift finite type, which is defined by space-time diagrams, is in big O of n, where n is the square. But in the full shift, for example, it's big O of n squared. Sorry, big O of exponential of n squared. And here it's big O of exponential of n. So the entropy, the two-dimensional entropy is 0 here, but you have many subshifts with two-dimensional entropy non-zero. But it's a good question because in many other aspects, the properties are not so different when you look on the other side of such things. Okay?